Talking about bojack horseman. Bojack horseman. Um, move this. There we go. There we go. Yeah, we're talking about Bojack Horseman. I got this little Q&A up here. Uh, did you like Bojack Horseman? And even if you didn't, what did you? This bro, what's up, dude? Guava, Guarv. I don't know how the hell to say your name. I'm not even gonna attempt. But yeah, did you like BoJack Horseman? What did you learn from it? And even if you didn't like it, what did you learn from it? Nighthawk, Real Media TV. What's up, dude? What up, bro? Did you like BoJack Horseman? And even if you didn't, did you watch it? What did you learn from it? I feel like I learned a lot of things from BoJack. I watched it in high school when it was coming out, and I feel like I learned a lot of things about. I'm okay. Nice, dude. W. W. I feel like I learned a lot of things about life and about how sometimes it's easier, or at least from some people's perspectives, it's easier to act as if you know a problem of sorts is something that is built into us rather than well, I used to watch him, but I never took videos a lot. But shut up, though. What? What? What are we talking about? I'm talking about the show, BoJack Horseman. The show. I used to watch him, but I never took videos a lot. What do we? I mean, shout out. So okay. Oh. I was like, what the fuck are we talking about? Yeah, shout out BoJack. I learned a lot from that show. I feel like that show, kind of puts it into perspective of people can convince themselves that a problem that they have is because of who they are and rather because of the choices that they make. Um, and I think that that's kind of one of the big messages of BoJack Horseman is that you don't you're not who you are because of some instinctual thing. You are who you are because of the choices that you make. You know, um, and we see that in BoJack. but sometimes I need to do some videos that can of the scandal. Am I like am I like going crazy right now? Are you like am I like reading your messages just completely wrong? I'm so confused right now. But sometimes I need to do some videos that can of scandal. Is everybody else reading this too? I mean, I just want to make sure. I want to make sure I'm not going crazy. But yeah, I mean, did you watch BoJack? And if you did you like it? I mean, it's a pretty old show at this point. It came out a long fucking time ago at this point. Your eyes is seeing double. I probably am, bro. I probably am. But sometimes I need to do some videos that can of scandal. Okay. Hey, you know what? You're goddamn right. You're goddamn right. You got me. You got me. Um but yeah, I feel like BoJack Horseman was a really good show in the concept that it showed people, a different perspective of how like BoJack kind of goes through the whole show believing that the person that he is because of some instinctual thing, you know what I mean? It's because of his family or it's because of how he grew up. Where, obviously, the way that you grow up and your family and the people you hang around, do have influence on who you are and how you act. But at the same point, the choices that you make are who dictate who you are. And that's something that I feel like BoJack, maybe towards the end of the show, he kind of started to realize that it's the choices that you make is who you are, and not some instinctual thing, not who you grew up around, not who your parents are, not the amount of money that you have. It's nothing about that. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with that at all. It's completely about the choices that you make. And we see that in real time. We see choices, and it's really interesting to see. It's almost as if you're like, imagine if you could live in somebody else's life that maybe you like fear and pity. You know what I mean? Like I heard somebody say, it was in like a song from some band, I can't remember. Are you still learning something from him too? I'm not lying. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm constantly. I mean, I haven't watched BoJack in a while. I watched it when it came out. I watched it all the way through back in like high school, back in like 2019 to like 2021. I haven't seen it since. But I haven't stopped thinking about it since either. It's kind of like one of those shows that when you watch it, you kind of don't stop thinking about it. And not even like intentionally. It just kind of pops up back in your head over and over and over again because we kind of find ourselves in moments where maybe we feel like we're acting like BoJack or even other characters in the show. You know what I mean? And it's really strange. Late. Okay, but it's not raining. 2019. It's later than that. It's not raining. What are you what are you talking about? I feel like we're having like two separate conversations right now. What are you talking about? Okay, but it's not raining. 2019. It's later than that. It is. It's 2026 right now. It sure is. What are what are we I can give myself a big head. There we go. I like that. That's funny. I like that. Mirror. What does that do? Oh shit. Oh shit. I didn't mean to do that. My bad. Okay. Okay, but it's not raining 2019. It's later than that. What are we talking about? Like I'm talking about BoJack, and I feel like you're talking about a completely different thing. And maybe you're not. I don't know. I'm so confused right now. But yeah, I do feel like I'm still learning things about myself and about the world around us from BoJack. Not necessarily from him the character, but more from the show. You know what I mean? Um I feel like sometimes we look at the character like Todd. We look at Todd and we think like I want to live like Todd does. You know what I mean? Like Todd, he just somehow fails upwards. You know what I mean? He's always going up. I don't know how he's doing it. And I guess what I'm trying to argue is like, though Todd in the show does kind of fail upwards and does kind of just somehow like is always on the good side of things. He's always like on the good luck. You know what I mean? He's always getting stuff done. I would kind of argue that I wouldn't personally want to live like Todd because Todd's a bum. You know, Todd's homeless. Todd's living on BoJack's couch party of the show. Um, and though Todd is like doing things, he's like making a rock opera and like he's doing all these different things. Does that take away from the fact that Todd is still character development wise homeless? He's homeless. He doesn't have a job. He's not really making anything of himself. He's more kind of just doing things that he thinks is fun, that he thinks he wants to do. So that's kind of a question to ask yourself. Like, do you find yourself feeling like Todd, from BoJack? And if you do, why is that? Because I don't really find myself feeling like Todd or feeling like I'm acting like Todd. Are you crying? What are you saying? I'm not crying. What do you say? Why is there like a weird character next to what you said? Maybe it like translated, and that's why there's like a weird character. I'm talking about BoJack Horseman, the show up here, the show on Netflix. No, I'm not crying. Do you want me to be crying? No, I'm not. I'm not crying. I could be. I don't really want to be. Um, there definitely are some moments in BoJack that do make you cry, though. You know, especially like the whole Sarah Lynn story and towards the end of the show, like right at the end, I do like the talking horse. I also like the talking horse. I mean, I don't really like him as a person, but I like the show. I think that him as a person is a real shithead. He's a real piece of shit. Um, and he doesn't really get better either. Like towards the end of the show, he kind of has like a little bit of like a redemption arc, but not really. Like he's still a piece of shit. He doesn't really care. And I guess I just hope that nobody else nobody feels that way about themselves. You know, I hope nobody feels like they are Bojack or they relate to Bojack. Because if you do, that's kind of sad, you know? Like, Bojack isn't really a guy that you should want to be like, or you should aspire to act like at all. He's a really bad role model. He's a really bad guy. He does really shitty things. But there are good characters in the show though. There are characters that you should want to be like, you know. I guess like for an example, I guess like Princess Carolyn, like she's a really good character that we should all aspire to be like, you know. She gets her shit together. Todd's okay. Todd kind of has some, you know, like Todd's not a bad, like he's not like a bad person. It's just that like Todd's homeless. You know, Todd is living on Bojack's couch for the majority of the show. So, in that aspect, do you want to do that? I don't want to do that. I don't want to live on somebody's couch. But yeah, I mean, I do like the talking horse. I just poked myself in the eye. I just poked myself in the eyeball, and it hurt. You do like the talking horse. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Gabriel Penicillio 6206. I do like the talking horse. He does. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. I like the talking horse. But yeah, you know, answer that. Do you like him? Do you not like him? Did you like the show? What did you learn from it? What did it mean to you? And then after you answer all those things, let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Bojack, the talking horse. He's kind of more than a talking horse, though. He's more like an anthropomorphic animal person. You know, like well, I don't even know. I'm not even really sure what the definition of anthropomorphic is. Because I think that I thought that it meant when something is animal and also human. And that's not Bojack. He's not animal and human. He's just an animal. He's just a talking horse. But now that I think about it, I don't really think there are any characters in BoJack that are animal and human. I think there are. I think they're all either animal or human. Now that I think about it, I'm not even really sure what transpired in me to want to go live and talk to YouTube about this. I really don't know. I do appreciate everybody who came in and chatted, though. Like Gawara VNGR songs. But yeah, I mean, did you like BoJack Horseman? I gotta charge my phone. Did you like BoJack Horseman? What'd you learn from it? Did you learn things about yourself? Did you learn things about maybe your friends, people around you? What'd you learn? 'Cause that's all that life is about. Especially media is watching something and taking something from it. You know what I mean? That's all that film is all about. And even music as well. I mean, really any type of art form really is all about witnessing, processing, and then relaying what you thought about this back. Maybe not directly to the artist, but in general, you know. But yeah, what did we learn from BoJack Horseman? I feel like I learned. Ooh, I feel like I learned that not everything is so serious. Not everything is as serious as you can make it out to seem. And kind of also to be nicer to yourself, you know? Be kind. Try to be understanding of the things and people around you. Because truly, you don't ever really know what's going on with somebody unless you ask, you know? Um, um, sleepy time. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What are we what are we learning from BoJack Horseman? What are we learning from this show? Are we learning anything from this show? Did we learn anything from this show? And if we did, what was it, you know? Because I mean, I can tell you what I learned. I can tell you what BoJack Horseman the show meant to me. I can go on for kind of opened up my own sense of being. Kind of made me realize that not everything is so serious. You know, some things are meant to be taken not so literally, and how sometimes we can convince ourselves that our problems are so linear, and for lack of a better word, we can convince ourselves that our problems are to do with our surroundings or how we grew up or who our parents are. And though those can be factors in your life, I would argue that the choices that you make in your life is what really deciphers of if you're a good or a bad person. You know what I mean? And Bojack, he makes bad choices, and that makes him a bad person. Just straight up, that's who he is. He's a bad person, and it's not because of his parents, and it's not because he was on horsing around. You know, it's not because he suddenly got famous as a young person, horse thing, and had everything he ever wanted, and it wasn't enough. It's not because of any of that. It's because of the choices that he made, and it's because of the choices that you make too. You know, we can sit here and act as if money, fame, or wealth can buy you happiness, but the reality is that happiness comes from within, you know. If you don't like the guy that you look at when you look in the mirror, you can't buy that. Wealth and fame can't buy that. And if you don't like that guy, then that's you. And you got to find a way to like that guy. Because if we stay in this circular mindset of, I don't like me, nobody likes me, then nobody's ever going to like you. And you're never going to like you. You have to be nicer to yourself. You have to be understanding and try to be more kind to yourself and those around you. Because if you're not, then you're almost kind of insinuating that you don't necessarily care about you or anybody. And that's kind of what Bojack is. The character Bojack. That's kind of who he is he doesn't care about him or anyone around him. He can sit there and say that X, Y, and Z is the issues of why I am the way I am, but that's just not true. That's just not true at all. He's the way that he is because of the choices that he makes. And that goes for everybody. You are the way that you are because of the choices that you make. And if you make good choices, then that makes you a good person. And if you make bad choices, then that makes you a bad person. And that's just how it is. Because in a lot of the show, Bojack's going on and on and on about how, his family was horrible to him. His parents were in a loveless relationship, and from a very young age, he got put on Horsing Around. We know it was a super popular show, and he had all the wealth, fame, and money, but that didn't give him happiness. And the reason that didn't give him happiness is because, truly, even in those moments where he had everything, he was still making bad choices. And that is what deciphers and what really makes you understand what is a good person and what is a bad person. Is the person who has everything in the world that they could ever want. I mean, look at, not to get political or anything, but, look at all the billionaires in the world right now. Do you think that any of those people are truly happy? They can sit there in their $1 billion houses and their $1 million yachts with everything that they've ever wanted. But when they look in the mirror, are they really happy with who they see? I'd argue no. Because if you have to make bad choices to be in a position in which you have everything you want, what was the end goal? You know? What was it really worth? It wasn't worth anything. And that's the truth of the matter. Is that it wasn't worth it. And I think that Bojack kind of towards the end of the show kind of starts to realize that none of this was really worth it at all. That all these things that he did, all these things that he said, none of it was worth it because it got him right back in the exact same position that he was in. And that happened because of the choices that he made. And that's really the message that I'm trying to portray here is that if you want to be a good person, make good choices. And that shouldn't be so hard, That shouldn't be so hard. If you want to be somebody that people can come to and can, see it in you and want your opinion, your ideals, and your support, then make those people feel that way about you by making good choices. Nobody nobody in their right mind was going to Bojack being like, "Hey, Bojack, I got this shit going on. I really need your help." Nobody was fucking doing that because Bojack's not the guy that you talk to when you're going through some shit. Bojack's gonna tell you, let's go on a bender. Let's drink a bunch of alcohol and do a bunch of drugs. You know? And that's not a real friend. That's not somebody that you want to hang out with. And it's at some point, when I watched this show, in high school, it was kind of disheartening. I was kind of hoping that the end of this show, Bojack would kind of have his own redemption. But he doesn't get that. And I think as an adult, I realize why he doesn't get that. He doesn't get that. He doesn't get that redemption arc. He doesn't get that moment of, maybe I'm not a piece of shit. Maybe I can be a better person. He doesn't get that because that's not who he sees himself as. And it all starts with you, truly. You can treat people great, you can be a good person, but if you view yourself as a Bojack-esque person, then you're never going to truly be happy. It's just not going to happen. And that's what happens with Bojack, is that Bojack has convinced himself in his own head that if I every once in a while make a good choice and do something that would benefit somebody else that's not me, that must make me a good person. And that's just not how it is. And being a good person isn't hard. It's not hard. And anybody who tells you that it is hard, in my opinion, I can only assume probably doesn't like themselves. They probably don't like the person that they look at when they look in the mirror. And that's okay. It's not a problem to not like yourself, but it is a problem when you start to act like Bojack. When you start to not like yourself, that is a problem. That's not right. Yeah, I mean, I think that, to answer my own question, I did like BoJack Horseman, and I think I learned that sometimes life is super duper hard. Sometimes life can really kick you in the balls over and over again. But it's about how you treat it. It's about how you look at it, is what your outlook is going to truly be. That's about what it's really about. Because you can be in a horrible position, really, maybe you're poor, maybe you're homeless. But it's about how you view your position is what keeps you in a mindset in which you feel like you could get out of this position. Because Bojack doesn't get out of his position because he doesn't view himself as somebody who could. He doesn't view himself as somebody who maybe could be better. He doesn't want to be better. If he wanted to be better, he would. And that goes for everybody. If you want to be better, then you will. And if you don't, then you don't. I mean, it sucks that it's so black and white like that, but it truly is. If you want to be a better person, then you will. And if you want to not be a better person and just keep telling yourself that you want to be better, then you won't. I think when we look back at moments, in BoJack Horseman, sometimes it's easy to see ourselves in BoJack, and that's kind of the point, is that in some moments you are supposed to be able to see yourself in BoJack, and you're supposed to be able to see yourself in all the characters. That's the whole point. Is that these are people, but the key point of that statement is that these are people, and we act this way too. Maybe not to that extent. Maybe not to the extent of what BoJack and Todd and Mr. Peanut Butter and all these people do, but we act that way too sometimes. And the difference between you and those people is that you have a choice. They have a choice too, but they don't think that they do, you know? You have a choice to be better. And if you make that choice, then I like to believe that good things come to you, you know? I'm a firm believer that if you treat people well, you're nice to people, good things will come back to you. And Bojack, kind of in his mindset, he believes that he is the way that he is because of things that happen to him and not because of the things that he is doing, and that is one of the most toxic and unrealistic mindsets to have. You can't think to yourself, well, this happened to me because of this person, because they did this to me, right? Because even if that is true, the point is, are you going to sit in this circular mindset of, well, I can't be better because of X, Y, and Z, or are you going to get out of that box and start to be better? Because Bojack couldn't get out of that box. He couldn't get out of that. He had convinced himself through his entire life that he is the way that he is because of the way that his parents treated him, because of being on horsing around as a young star, and other things, right? But the reality is that Bojack could have redeemed himself. He could have been better, but he didn't. And that's just real sometimes. That's just true. That's just how it is for some people. Some people have the opportunities to redeem themselves and be better, and they choose not to. And sometimes not even intentionally, you know? Sometimes they're so, back on this box, sometimes they're just so stuck in that box in your own head where you convince yourself that this is who you are and this is how you're going to stay. And that's not true. It's not. It never is. You can be completely different than who you are right now. You just have to believe that, You have to believe that. And once you start to believe that, things start to look better. Things start to look up, you know, things start to look better. But yeah, I just wanted to hop in here and talk about Bojack for a little bit. I'm not really sure why or what transpired in me to want to talk about Bojack Horseman, the show. It came out a long fucking time ago. But I think about it constantly. I really do. I think about that show all the time. Because there's a lot of really good, heartfelt lessons to learn from that show. There really are. And there's a lot to learn about yourself while you're watching it. I hope everybody who came and talked in the chat, everybody who stopped in, I hope you have a great day or night or afternoon wherever you are in the world. I hope that you continue to be the best person that you can be. And I hope that you be a better person than you were today, tomorrow. Because that's all we can do. All we can do is be better than we were yesterday. But yeah, I love y'all. I'll see you later.